Hey, welcome to the show. My name is Kevin Gregg. Thanks for joining us on the Working Creatives podcast. I'm here to help you get your creative work done, get it to audience, and help you get some income coming in from that work. I had something recently, and I'm in the middle of it right now. I have a project, and had a project that was sitting in my head for years. And I kept getting frozen. And every time that I would try to sit down and start developing this thing, whether it was through writing, whether it was through illustration, whatever it was I was trying to do, I kept stalling. I kept thinking to myself, especially with some of my skills, even though I've had some drawing skills over the years in order to get across my concepts, I would get a little petrified. There's a story behind that, which I'm going to share in the end. But I just realized this isn't good enough. And while I was working on this project, it made me unlock something where, yeah, I have performed for over 2.5 million people in my career. I've actually been creating stuff, putting stuff up. And as I started thinking about this and started thinking about my past and my career, I started realizing, hey, wait a minute. The people that I have seen create incredible stuff, and even myself in the past when I have created incredible stuff, it didn't start out perfect. As a matter of fact, it started out as a big muck. It just was like sloppy, not great, looked like a train wreck. But I started to realize that those people, including myself, that gave myself permission to make bad art, those are the ones that succeeded, right? And I had this, right? I had a moment where I just thought, I can't start because this is just isn't good enough. It's not going to help. And the number one creative block that nobody talks about, we treat it like it's a motivation problem, but really what this is, it's a permission problem. It's permission to make bad art and to realize that this is a part of the process. Bad art is not the enemy of the good. I'm going to suggest that your bad art is actually the raw material that your good art is going to be made from. We're going to talk about that. Giving yourself the permission to make what you look like. This looks like absolute crap. Why am I going to do this? This is awful. I don't want to put this out in the world. We have to put that stuff, we have to get that stuff out of us, and sometimes presenting it a little bit, because that's going to end up serving as the raw material for the good stuff that's coming. So before we jump into any of that, as I said, this is a show that's dedicated to helping you get your creative work done. And that's exactly what I help people do over in my community, the Working Creatives community that's hosted on the school platform. You can join the hundreds of people that are over there who are working on getting their creative work done and finished, finding their audience for it, and putting it out there in the world so they can start generating income and revenue. If you feel that you have got a call in your heart, particularly by God, to do creative work and to put it out there, and you are on the path to do this professionally, jump over into the Working Creatives community. It's an amazing place where people are all working together to get their work done and get it out into the world and start generating some income. Please join us over there. So, bad art. Kevin, why do you want to put out bad art in the world? Isn't this about putting out the best stuff? Let's unpack this. The thing that we think is with great artists create great work, and then the rest of us, we're just not there. We're just not there. So we have to wait until we get there before we can even release and put our stuff out there. I'll have to tell you, that's a lie. It's a lie that professional creatives just sit down and then they make brilliance on the first pass. It doesn't happen. Anything that you've known, anything that you've taken a look at, whether it's been a film or art or any of the stuff that you've done, it goes through rough, messy phases. I can't tell you the amount of time that I could point to this in film as things have been cobbled together and put together. I think about George Lucas's Star Wars in 1977, which was, this massive hit. Well, I've done extensive research over the years and read a number of books of that thing being put together, and have actually taken a look at George Lucas's first notes on the project, on his first scripts. Right, he had about 7 revisions of that script. Some of them are not very good. Right, like you're looking at this and just going like, oh my gosh, this feels so clunky and this doesn't make any sense. You think about all the stuff that was happening as, for example, Steven Spielberg was putting together Jaws, and the things that were sort of falling apart even on set, where they couldn't do the things as they're trying to do the adaptation of Peter Benchley's novel, and going, this isn't working, right? How do we fix this? How do we fix this in the middle, and stumbling through, right? We've got to get through these first drafts, and the story that I'm bringing up too. There's a series that I'm developing, that I'm trying to that I'm putting together concept paths of, and proof of concept for, to try and land funding for this, and to try and put it out into a bigger world. I've been doodling around with this for quite a while, but again, as I was trying to like hammer out some of the images that just wouldn't be like that wouldn't leave my mind, even as I did the sketches, I went, that's not exactly how I want to do them. And then even as I started like plunking down some of the dialogue or some of the scripting, it was just like, yeah, this just doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. And the thing is that and I've realized this recently because I've been actually working on this. I've brought this project into a class I'm working in right now, and where I'm actually being a student in the class, and working on some of my writing revisions on it, and putting together some of this proof of concept material, and I'm stumbling through. Even if it's not the best version of it, I'm getting to be in an environment where I'm getting to clarify it and just continue to just massage it and edit away the fat or make new discoveries as I do it, even as I'm bringing what I think at first is just like, oh, this is kind of hokey. This feels a little embarrassing to kind of show this, but I'm so glad that I've been doing this. And the reason I wanted to share it with you is that, the stuff that we look at, that we admire so much, and that we look at and we just go, oh my gosh, man, those artists are amazing, and how can they do this? And they everything they seem to just put out into the world is just absolute perfection. The thing is this, we don't see 90% of what gets thrown away. We don't get to see 90% of it. We only get to see like the last 10% that gets the most refined and polished, and boom, out in the world. I saw this happen so many times when I was working down at Disneyland, when we were developing shows or trying to get them on their feet. Or I remember there were a couple of shows I worked on from, development until it got up on its feet in front of, audience members in the park. Like, you look at some of those rough versions of it and just felt like, oh gosh, this is embarrassing. How's it going to come together? And yet we keep showing up and honing and honing and honing until finally you just get there, and it's just like this. It looks like this polished, smooth thing. And even then, sometimes you're putting stuff out and it's not fully polished, right? It's like, I'll get to that in a moment, but it's almost like at its 80% version of it, where you just kind of go, this isn't exactly it's not fully there where I want it to be, but I've got to get this out there, and then we'll refine on the way as we do that. I've been there too. See, the thing is this, man, if you are comparing your rough draft to someone else's final cut, it's not about you trying to seek perfection, right? You're looking at it completely wrong, right? You're trying to look at what the end result is and what's going to happen when you're still in the working and molding and all of that stuff, where you've got to get your hands on this thing and figure out what works and what doesn't work. You cannot look at the end result that other people have done, because you didn't get to see their messy beginnings, their messy middles, the things where they were thrown curveballs that they weren't expecting. So the practical framework with this isn't about this being a pep talk. What it ultimately is, this is about practice. All right. I talk about this all the time in the working creatives community. It does not have to be big. And I always talk about setting a 6-minute timer. A 6-minute timer is such a small increment, and it's just giving you the permission to just do it, to just write it out. Write out your worst possible draft of the idea, or the worst possible pass at the illustration, or your worst possible pass at what the song might be, right? And maybe you might do this. Maybe it's not even about it. Maybe it's not about just doing it quickly. It's about just doing it bad. Just going like, "Bah, here it is," right? I'm doing this with another script that I'm working on right now. I'm working on another script right now, and I'm going to tell you, I've just completed the first draft. It's awful. It's awful, right? It's just like, but I knew that I need to just get the general concepts down on paper, so it was just like boom, out there. And I knew that as I was writing it out, it's just like, yeah, this is terrible, this is a long-winded scene, or this is like a terrible description of it, but at least I'm getting some version of it down. That's the concept I'm talking about. Even taking the 6 minutes of what the concept is that you have, and just like going, I don't know, it's not fully perfected or crafted, get it down. This is the same thing I do with actors whenever I was directing them. Get up on the feet, guys. Hold your scripts in your hand. Give a stab at the lines. You'd even do that with cold scenes. Cold scene was something where somebody has never seen it before, and the first time that they're seeing it is when they're seeing it on paper. Great exercise to do with actors. Hey guys, I'm going to hand you these scenes. Don't think much of it. Just before we get up, just take a quick look, read over it, just so you have the concept of when you come in. All right, let's get up on our feet and let's just try and feel this out, right? What a great way to just get past the idea of like, all right, I'm not going to overthink this, I'm just going to do it. That's what I'm asking you to do with a 6-minute timer with your idea. I've got the idea and the concept, great. Let's put on a 6-minute timer and let's just do the bad version of it, right? That's one practice that you can do. The other one is this: as you're doing some version of it, there is a concept that I like, which I've discovered recently, which is about just shipping something at 80% every day, right? Where it's not fully, it's like, it's close, but it's not that. I'll have to have transparency, like pull back the curtain and show you how things work here. That's what happens with these live streams here. When I'm doing live streams here on this channel for work, for my Working Creatives podcast, and then also for the I'd Rather Be a Buffalo channel that I have, it is about showing up and just going, okay, I have a concept of what the idea is I want to talk about today, and I'm going to scramble it, but I don't really have the time to be able to perfect and craft and do all those things, with the limitations I have time-wise, budget-wise right now. I don't have the ability to be able to do a perfect thing. It's about putting it out there. I'll tell you what, if you look back earlier on this channel, there's 2 videos I made which were exactly this, with this idea of like just shipping the best version of it that I could. One of them is about having a boring new year, and then the other one is called A Night Experiment. If you take a look at those 2 short films I just did a couple of months ago on here, that's a perfect example of me going out, grabbing stuff, not doing this perfectly, and just making it. That's a version of shipping something that, for me, it just felt like this is like the 80% version of it, but I got to get it there. It's good, but it's not exactly where I want to be. But why do we do that? Because the more that we practice shipping stuff at 80%, we get used to shipping stuff and showing up and going, it's not the best version of it, but I'm getting out there. And then that way it starts becoming easier to be able to show up and actually do it. And you start actually flexing muscles, so you start getting better at refining what that is, right? Here's the thing. Even if it's not bad, even if it's not perfect, it's not a failure. Bad art is about volume. Bad art is about getting that stuff out there. Robert Rodriguez, in his book Rebel Without a Crew, when he was making El Mariachi back in the 90s, he said this great line, which I truly believe. Every filmmaker's got 10 bad films in them. You might as well start getting them out now, right? Start cranking out those films now. And I think that also works with all of our stuff. We've all got bad short stories in us, bad screenplays, bad novels, bad paintings, bad, pieces of music, albums, bad dance things, whatever it is. We got to get it out. Bad videos. Blah. We got to get it out, right? So that the more that you get out of it, the more confidence that you go, okay, well, this is what the process is when I'm doing it. And now are there ways that I can start reframing it, right? But that quantity over time as you're doing it, it'll start leading to quality, okay? It's the fact is this, right? It's I want to think. There's an example that I have right here. It's like being in a ceramics class, right? When you're a ceramics class, the entire grade that you get for the class isn't about you producing the one perfect piece. It's about, are you making progress over time, right? You're going to make bad pots. You're going to make bad pots, bad plates, all that stuff. But are you showing up and going through the motion again and again and again? And is there refinement that's happening? And are you learning the skills and applying it? That's what's happening with your bad art, right? Okay, it looks like crap. It looks like a bad vase, right? But then you show up and then the vase starts getting more and more refined. And then that's the fact is the showing up and the continual progress, the continual production of it is going to create the progress. Here's the other side of this that I want to warn you about. Perfectionism. Perfectionism is the thing that will pop up and it will say, you can't put that out there. That's not perfect, right? It's preventing you from bringing art into the world. It's actually leading you to like the void of no art. Instead, it's all just trapped up in here. Whispers of ideas or concepts. And then they just stay there and no version of them come out. And then this little demon or whatever is just saying, you can't put it out there until it's absolutely perfect. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Who at some point, like honestly, whatever this myth is or whatever this thing is just like, you can't put something out there unless it's absolutely show ready or perfect, or that it could just roll right out for, production or marketing or sales. Are you out of your mind? How much development happens all the time as there's continual development and progress on all things. I'm not just talking about art, but you can't do that. The work that you don't ship or put out there has zero impact. You're not going to learn anything. No one's going to get exposed to you. No one's going to get a feel for what you do, and you're not learning anything, right? A bad piece that someone actually sees changes things. A perfect piece in your head changes nothing. Let me say that again. A bad piece that someone actually sees changes things. And not only necessarily for them, for you too. But a perfect piece that's stuck inside your head changes nothing. It doesn't change you, and it doesn't change anybody that's not going to see any of it. So, here's the thing. I've never, and also with all of the shows that I've done over the years, getting up and doing all this stuff, there's always something that could be different, that could be changed, that wasn't just right. I've never had a show or a presentation or something where I came up where somebody said, that's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect and flawless. There's always room for growth and change. And that's okay. That's okay. Thank God that there's always room for it. Because if everything was coming out perfect all the time, my gosh, that's not a world that I want to live in, right? Your impact does not mean it has to be perfect. Impact does not equal perfectionism. All right? So, how much longer are you willing to wait to be good enough? Because good enough isn't going to show up. You have to decide. Are you going to wait with this crazy perfectionism thing that's in your mind? Come on. So here's a challenge I want to give you. This week, maybe it's just a wisp of an idea or something. Make one thing that you know it's going to be bad and just announce it to someone that you know. Hey, I'm making a bad short story this week, or I'm making a bad song, or I'm making a bad video, right? And by bad, I mean like the quality's not going to be the best, but you're doing it. And make that announcement, okay? And here's why announcing it matters. It's the fact is this: you're already pre-announcing, hey guys, this isn't going to be good, but I'm going to be doing it anyway. And it's an exercise to be able to say, at least I'm just doing this so I have an opportunity to do something. And people can cheer it. That's amazing, right? And it takes away the fear. All right, so it's going to be bad. Great. And you can use this. The reason I'm bringing all this up, all of this ties in with the other video that I put out earlier this week, which is about unclogging the pipe. This is part of the unclogging the pipe framework. Things things stack up. This might be one way to get something out, to start moving something down that pipeline and to start opening up stuff. Maybe it's on the project that you really want to get done. And just go, I'm just going to do a really bad version of this. Or I'm going to do a really bad version of a part of this. It's not about the whole thing. It's just about a part of it. All right? But just do that. All right? So, permission isn't something that you've just got to wait for. It's something that you're going to give yourself. You're going to give yourself permission to make bad art. This week, make one bad thing, then come back here if you want to comment down in the comments below. Talk about what you made. Drop in the comments. Maybe you decide to join the Working Creatives community and you share it over there. All right? And yeah, you get to say it was terrible. And you might be surprised. What you think is like terrible and awful, somebody else might say, what are you talking about? This is great. Which could in turn lead to some confidence for you to kind of go, okay, amazing. Amazing. All right. We're going to keep going on this. Like the biggest thing I want to do on this show is to do the stuff that's going to help encourage you to get the work done. So I'll continue with this. I will likely continue with this with another video that helps you just kind of get the pipe unclogged. Because I'll tell you what, guys, your stuff, you've been given your concepts for a reason. The world needs it, right? So put it out there. Don't let perfectionism get in the way. Make it bad. Who cares? Just get it out there. That's the biggest point. Because we want you flexing that muscle so that you're showing up and not getting stuck in the idea of perfectionism or any of that other stuff. You gotta keep moving forward and getting it done. So if you found this video was helpful, please do me a favor. Hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you can find out when my next video is coming out. And I'll keep showing up so that you guys can keep getting your work done. Thanks for joining us on the show. Onwards, upwards, and God bless you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.